Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough and review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Episode 7. Now, if you remember from last episode, Buford's been defeated by JoJo, and we know a little more information about Zeppeli's background, about how he actually got his ripple energy. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But we're also taken to a different scene. We're now at the Knight's Old training ground. So I thought I'd just point that out. Now, I should also point out, it's Turkis versus JoJo right now. Kind of epic. I'm looking forward to seeing this. It's more or less a setup. But see, the last episode, sadly, we see them being locked in a room, and JoJo's, he has a chain on a collar, as does Turkis. And apparently this is Turkis's battleground. He knows the area very well, so it's an interesting setup. Now, Poco grows a pair of cojones. He goes inside, unlocks the door by pulling the lever, and now Zeppeli and Speedwagon can in fact go inside. Now, it's technically Zeppeli versus Turkis now, but that was last episode, and this is a new episode, so let's dive right in. And again, I'll keep my final thoughts and rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned, but let's dive right in. Now, we open the scene up kind of in the past. We do a flashback. It's now 1863. Now, this is Zeppeli's flashback, and we see it's been 3 years now, and he's actually been training with his master, which is called the Sage Tempeh. So that was kind of interesting. I should also point out, Zeppeli's asking all these questions on how he's going to die. And eventually the Sage Tempeh, or should I just call him Tempeh in general, he ends up telling Zeppeli about how he's going to die. So I thought that was also kind of interesting. But again, that's where we opened up at. Moving past that, we're taken back to Zeppeli versus Turkis. Now, this is an epic battle, so hope you're in it for the long run, because here we go. Now we see Zeppeli use a tornado drive, which was an amazing attack in my opinion. But Turkis, he also uses his chains, and he also does another attack called Heaven's Hell Snake Kill. That kind of killed the battle altogether in my opinion, because both JoJo and Zeppeli have been caught and they've been taken down. Now, it's a WTF moment. We see Zeppeli cut in half. And I was like, what? I'm like, am I seeing things? Zeppeli's cut in half. So, wow. And we see JoJo, his neck has been broken. I'm like, the main character's gone. Zeppeli's cut in half. What? I'm sorry, that is a WTF moment. Now, again, we see Speedwagon. He is breaking down. He doesn't know how to take what's happening. And remember, he's got Poco in his hands. That kid, it's in his arms. So, I don't know how Speedwagon's really taken this, but he's not looking good. Now, we are taken to a different scene. We see, again, JoJo's neck has been broken, and Zeppeli, although he's been cut in half, he's not dead. No, he's not dead. He's not down for the count. He reaches out and he grabs JoJo. And apparently, this is also another interesting little part. Zeppeli gives JoJo his supreme technique. I'm like, a supreme technique, and he's about to die? This has got to be interesting. There's got to be a catch, and there is a catch. Apparently, he gives the Supreme Deep Pass Overdrive to JoJo. Now, I'll get into a little more about that later on, but we see JoJo versus Turkis in the next scene. That's right. JoJo's back. His neck is no longer broken, and I found this was also kind of interesting. His metal collar that was hooked up to the chain that was connected to Turkis, he breaks it. And Turkis explains not even he could break it, even with Dio's power. So that's kind of interesting. So JoJo is now a little super strong, thanks to Zeppeli giving him that new technique, or should I say, giving him his life force. That's what I was trying to explain about a few seconds ago. I'll get to it now. He gave him his life force. So I didn't know you could do that in this series, but apparently you can. Now, before I digress anymore, we're also taken to a different scene. We see Turkis have his right hand cut off by JoJo. I was like, just randomly it happens. I was like, whoa. But no, there's more actually. Apparently we see, in retaliation, Turkis spits out his teeth, at least two pairs of teeth at JoJo, just to cut him on his face kind of. But that was kind of a weak attack in my opinion, because JoJo just outright defeats Turkis. So that's how the battle actually ended. So we were kind of robbed on how that ended, but at least it was to me it was very gory. We saw Zeppeli being cut in half, so it was well worth watching. A little sad though about how Zeppeli passed. Now, moving on, we see Zeppeli. He is still alive, so he's not passed away yet. Now, he does look a lot more frail, looks older, white hair, so I was a little shocked there. Now, he also manages to tell JoJo to defeat Dio. These were his last dying words: defeat Dio and smash the stone mask. Then he also explains a little about, I guess, his past. He was married young, he left his family, but he does not regret where he is at now. So those were again his final words. And we're taken to a small cutscene, and JoJo, Speedwagon, and Poco, they're watching Zeppeli's body being burnt. So it's kind of like a small miniature funeral where we see Zeppeli's body being burnt to a crisp. Now, I'll point out the real reason why they're burning his body, even though that wasn't covered in the episode. They're burning his body because they're more or less afraid of Dio coming back and bringing Zeppeli probably back to life, because that would be really screwed up, in my opinion, if that were to happen. So burning the ashes kind of prevents Dio from doing that. So that was also something I felt like I had to add. Now, moving on to the next scene, this is another WTF scene. We see Dio, and apparently this mother and a child are right in front of him, and the mother's pleading with him, "Don't kill my kid." And Dio is like, "Okay, I'm not gonna kill your kid, and my zombies, they're not gonna kill your kid." So that's where we're at. It's like, we're good. But instead of keeping that promise, he bites the girl, like literally turns her into one of his zombies, and she ends up killing her child. And to me, that is the lowest point right now I've seen Dio. That is low, so low. I mean, he kept his promise, but there was a catch to the promise. He said he wouldn't, and neither were any of his zombies going to do it either. But he never said anything about turning the woman into one of his zombies and having her kill the kid. So, I mean, that was brilliant how he put it that way, but very gory because of the outcome. But sorry, I digress. Moving on to the next scene, we see Speedwagon, and he's with JoJo and Poco, and I thought this was very interesting. I gotta point this out, so I hope you're paying attention. Speedwagon is wearing Zeppeli's hat, and he has JoJo's sword that Buford gave him, the one that's called Pluck now. So if you look right inside of his vest and his jacket, the sword is there, and it's not with JoJo. So I just thought I'd point that out. Now again, I should also point out they're heading toward the Wind Night lot. That little village that Poco's actually from. So that's the direction they're heading toward. But I also was a little scratching my head when I saw this. We have a guy by the name of Mr. Adams, and he's coming down the road, and he kind of scares Poco, kind of. But he's like, he looks normal. JoJo, he says he looks normal. And they come with the assumption that maybe Wind Knight's lot is okay. And they turn their back on this guy, and they walk away. And this guy attacks him. He turns around, his tongue comes out. It's like, I thought this was going to be a battle scene, a larger drawn out battle scene of this, like zombies probably attacking out of nowhere. No, this guy was defeated real quick. Now, moving on to a kind of a different scene, we are introduced to a few characters. First of all, we're introduced to Dyer. He looks kind of interesting, kind of a little dark and sinister in my opinion. Now, he attacks JoJo with a Sunder Split attack, and then JoJo ends up headbutting him, and that's how we figure Dyer isn't a zombie, he's a human. He points it out, and then we end up finding out a little more about Dyer's background. He was one of Zeppeli's friends. He ended up training, they had the same master, and they trained together for 20 years. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Then we're introduced to another character, Strat. Another character. Now, he has a letter that was sent by Zeppeli asking for aid, apparently. So Zeppeli sent this letter like a few months or so back, once he found the stone mask. So he's asking for aid from all of his associates and friends, I guess. So that was kind of interesting. He knew he was going to die, so he was preparing JoJo, I guess, for this. Now, we're also introduced to another character. This is the third character we're introduced to, and it's Master Tempeh. That's right, Zeppeli's master. I should say Zeppeli and Dyer's master. I'm not sure if Strat's master is Tempeh or not. That wasn't explained, but I'm going to assume it probably is. So again, we are introduced to Master Tempeh, and he points out, well, where's Zeppeli? And he finds out, okay, he's passed away. It's like, even if they would have arrived earlier, you know, Zeppeli still would have died because that was his fate. So that was kind of interesting. Kind of sad because he didn't get to see his pupil before he died. So, but again, we're taken to another scene. This is probably the last scene of the episode. Again, we're taken to Dio, and he's basically stating that, like, not stating, but he's kind of overjoyed that he now has taken the village in a single night, like he said at the other episode. So from what he said, it appears that the village of Wind Nightslot has been taken over by Dio. Now, this was kind of interesting. I don't know if you noticed it. I noticed it. Arena, which is JoJo's girl, was seen in the background. We don't know if she's a vampire or not, but she looks kind of innocent and very scared, and she is with Dio right now. But that's where the episode actually ends. Now, as for final thoughts, well, first of all, is Arena a zombie or not? I want to say, is she like Dio? Is she a vampire? But I'm pretty sure she didn't put the mask on, so she has to either be a zombie or she's bait. You know, she's going to be the trap. She is the bait. She's either a zombie in disguise or she's being kept alive to become bait for JoJo, more or less a trap. Now, more final thoughts. We were introduced to 3 characters, Dyer, Strat, and Master Tenpei. I'm curious to see more of their powers and their techniques and what are they going to do in the upcoming episodes. It's going to be good. I can't wait to see it. Now, I'm also wondering, is it really the end for I'm trying to say it right. I mean, it's Zeppeli. He's dead. But is he really dead? Is he going to come back to life? Even though I mentioned, you know, his ashes were burned, so Dio couldn't bring him back to life. Does that mean he's dead for the count? I don't know. I mean, Zeppeli did mention he was married. He had a family. Now I'm wondering, did he have kids? And is his wife going to track him down at all? We don't know. I just thought I'd mention that because he mentioned he was married once when he was young. So that was also interesting. And no, that ends it for my final thoughts. I'm not going to get too deep into them. As for my rating, I want to give this a 4 out of 5, a solid 4 out of 5. But because of the gore we got to see, the amount of new characters, the amount of new information, and sadly Zeppeli's demise, which caught me off guard, 4.5 out of 5. I feel comfortable saying 4.5 out of 5 because it was a great episode. So definitely 4.5 out of 5. Now that ends it for my walkthrough and review for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Episode 7. But definitely comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe above, and tell me what you thought of this episode. And also tell me what your expectations are with the upcoming episode. Definitely check me out on Twitter and follow me if you like. But that ends it for now. I think I have one more walkthrough and review to do for tonight, but I might end up doing it tomorrow morning, so definitely stay tuned for that. But I gotta go, guys. It's been a pleasure. But before I go, I gotta say it. Can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.